to mundo fine, night train to the end. Running hard and running fast to meet my future and away from my past. Taking the gamble that cannot last. Night train to the end.
Hello, everyone. This is the Frater SH Night Show, and our first article is about people's glitch in the Matrix experiences. Baffle the internet, spooky and unsettling. People have been sharing stories about times they experienced a glitch in the Matrix, and some are proving simply too strange to explain away. A phrase first coined in the 1999 film The Matrix, which posted the idea that humanity is living in a giant computer simulation. Over the years, a glitch in the Matrix has become shorthand for an example of an unusual experience that cannot logically be explained. During a recent discussion on Mumsnet, which garnered over 700 comments, users were invited to offer up their own experiences of a glitch in the Matrix, and the responses did not disappoint. Here are the first few notable experiences shared on the forum. A vivid image. Years ago, I was talking to a colleague. He was a nice guy, but too young for me, and not my type in any event. He was leaving to move abroad to follow the following month. I was divorced and 4 years old. While we were talking, I got what I can only describe as a vivid image in my head, and it was of myself and the colleague, and we were married with 2 children, living in a very hot place. Fast forward 5 years, and all this came true. He stayed in England for a few months later. We dated, then we got married and had 2 children, and I was in my mid-40s. Then out of the blue, he was offered a job in the Middle East, and we all moved there. I knew it's a coincidence, but it's really strange. Dead spiders. I was once on my own in my family home. Family were all on holiday, and only I had keys. I was making jam. I made to put it in jars and couldn't find half the lids. So I left the lidless jars in the pantry and went to bed. Got up in the morning, and all the lidless jars now had lids screwed on tight, and each jar was a dead spider. Shattered in midair. As a teenager, there were several of us having a seance. Someone asked if there was a god, and the wine glass shot off the table, shattered in midair, and the pieces fell to the floor. Still remember it to this day. Voices in my head. About 15 years ago, I was tidying my room. Suddenly, there was a loud pop in one ear, followed by the sound of people talking. It was the strangest feeling, almost like hearing a conversation. And then the people realize and move away. It faded to nothing. The voices were in my head. If you know what I mean, rather than it being like overhearing people next room or next door. Identical milks. Was making myself a cup of tea, then put the milk back in the fridge. After using it, the doorbell rang, so I answered it. And when I came back to get my tea, my cup of tea, the milk was beside my cup. Thought it was weird, but maybe I got distracted by the door. Put it down instead of putting it away. Took it to the fridge, opened the door, and there was the milk. I had 2 identical milks, but was definitely only bought 1 carton, so I had no idea what happened. The 53rd birthday. My godfather died about 30 years ago. On his 53rd birthday, I missed seeing him by a matter of hours. I traveled up from London with a birthday card for him and reached the hospital only to be told he'd gone. Just after Christmas, I decided to make yet another attempt to sort out the loft. Found an old bag with a card in it, with my grandfather's name, and my handwriting on it. It was the card I'd bought for him on the day that I traveled up to see him. It just felt particularly odd that I should find it on my 53rd birthday. In the middle of my bed, I went to an event with my first digital camera. This was back in the 90s when when they were quite a new thing. I took lots of pictures in the morning. Then around lunchtime, I realized that I'd lost the camera. I was gutted, retraced my steps, asked at every stall I stopped at where it had been handed in, but there was no trace of it. At the end of the day, I went back to the locked hotel room, quite some distance from the event, and the camera was sitting right in the middle of the bed, with all the photos from the morning on it. The wedding ring. My husband came home from work upset because he had lost his wedding ring. He never takes it off except to shower, so we figured it must have slipped off somehow. He was frantically looking for it, and he turned the house upside down. We went back he went back to his work to search the car park with no luck. Morning the day, I was in the kitchen alone, and I heard the sound of something hitting the floor. I turned around, and right there on the floor, a couple of feet away, was his wedding ring. It was as if it had just appeared out of thin air. Time warp. I undertook the same journey frequently, 45 minutes door to door, rural-ish route, only one way to go, except once it took me 30 minutes, which is physically impossible. I checked my phone text message half an hour earlier to a friend to say I'm leaving. Checked time on phone against watch and radio. It's not physically possible for me to have done it in the time still mystified. The autographed picture. Recalled years ago I had signed photo of Andy Peters and Ed the Duck, British kids TV presenters. It was when I was a young child. I left it at my mom's house in the loft with childhood stuff, and I went into uni. My mom then left that house and moved in with my stepdad at his house. I never had a room there, and the boxes of my childhood stuff were never unpacked. In the meantime, I lived in 4 separate towns before my current town. I haven't been back much to my house since she died 9 years ago. A family member still lives there, so we haven't cleared the loft yet. 2 years ago, in a laundry bag bought about 3 years ago in my current town, which was never been anywhere but my current house, I found my signed picture at the bottom of it. One day, I have racked my brains how it could have got there, but it's definitely mine. I have a fairly unusual name, and it has the same folded corner. There is literally no way it could have got there. I have no old childhood books it could have been in and fallen out of. I haven't gotten anything out of that loft ever. I actually accused my sister of playing a joke, and we both ended up in tears. I found out so scary as it was a total impossible thing. The missing remote. We lost the remote control for the TV. Searched for it. Had it give up and order a replacement. Delivery man knocked on the door. I went and got the parcel, which had the new remote in it. Went back to the living room. The original remote control was on the floor in the middle of the room. I had just left the room. It wasn't there when I left. I can't explain it. Made the hair stand up on the back of my neck. And that is all for today. Thank you.